Please do not turn off your radio, but turn up the volume on your receiver as high as it can go.
They work hard, they play hard, and they brought the receipts. Cover your ears. This is Soundwaves TMI.
Here we are, friends. Another episode of Soundwaves TV. Chasta, Tennyson, Steve. I started early. Sorry.
You did.
Sorry, not sorry.
It's an opportunity to get to talk about rock and roll and drink beer. What could be better?
I mean, we're brilliant. I'm sorry. Like, we created a whole TV show that gives us space to do both.
We cracked the code, man.
We're winning at life.
Wait, wasn't that hashtag you're welcome? Right.
Yes, exactly.
So welcome to our party.
I forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah.
So we're talking about one of my favorite topics today, lyrics.
Yes.
Love it.
Yep.
I could talk for days, and we just might. Actually, we're going to share something with you in a minute. But we're talking about lyrics because we've got a couple different things to hit. We've got Sam Chase on today.
Yes.
Which is lyricist extraordinaire.
If you're doing a show about lyrics, you got to have Sam Chase on it.
I mean, it's the truth.
Right.
And Miss Casey Hill. We have a brand new video from her, right?
Yes, we do. And what's amazing is that, your Sam Chases, your Casey Hills, they're very few and far between. But when they show up, they tell stories.
Yeah.
They bring this honest sort of like, and put you right in that place. We were like, 4 minutes ago, I wasn't feeling this.
Yeah.
But I am now. I'm fully invested in the story that's being told. And honestly, it's exciting to see that come back. And I'm just going to throw down the T word right now, Taylor Swift. I just want to point out, and we're going to continue talking about this. You'll find out in just a second. We got a little surprise for you. But just to broach this topic a little bit, and I won't even get into the wingnuts to her both. But she's bringing back songwriting. She's bringing back lyrics. She's bringing back 100,000 people singing that story. When have we seen this since? I don't know, maybe a little bit in the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, certainly, Cat Stevens, Jim Croce. But it's like for all the things that people are talking about that she's doing for people, all the charitable stuff and blah, 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 and selling out, number one, this and that, I don't think she's getting enough credit for bringing back storytelling in songs.
Yeah. I agree. I think lyrically that's what she's known for, and she's been known for that since she was like 15, which is pretty wild to think about now.
Yeah.
But she was a natural born storyteller.
Now, I think, and the storytelling aspect of it, I think has been a lost art for the past 20 or 30 years because music has been pretty much about the music, about the beats, and about being able to dance to it or whatever. But to be able to sit down and listen to a song and have it affect you that way, I mean, Billy Joel is one of the only guys I can think of that's done that sort of stuff. And, he's back at it today doing the same thing. He's writing a song, or he's got a song out now that has a story about it. It's not just about this moment or this feeling or whatever. It's telling you something.
And by the way, that Billy Joel song could have only been written by a guy who's been in a relationship for 30 years, who's 70 years old. Yeah. And you hear that now and you're like, oh, yeah, he didn't have this in when he was 25. It's such a mature song about a relationship, and it's just devastating,
I actually had a couple nights ago, I had a dream that I got to interview Stevie Nicks. It's probably called manifestation. That's what I'm trying to do. She's going to be at Bottle Rock, so I'm like...
Yes.
But I talked to her about this because when I see Taylor and when I hear a lot of what she does, I feel like she is emulating or trying to emulate Stevie. The way her hair is, the way her flowy clothes are, the way she moves on stage.
Well, that's interesting.
And I mean that as a compliment to obviously both of them. I mean, Stevie is my goddess. But I think that Taylor sees what you're talking about happening in the 70s and into the 80s with that real whimsical storytelling and almost mystery. Because the funny thing that always strikes me about Taylor is that she is mysterious and also the most famous person on the planet.
Right. Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Like,
I totally
she only
get that.
tells you what she wants you to know. And then she writes all kinds of stuff into her lyrics, like little Easter eggs. I think
that's
she's
brilliant.
Very talented.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, everybody else talks about Taylor, like people in her life and
but
stuff
she's
like that.
Not out she's not at all the, clubs in Hollywood and pulling a Lindsay Lohan, no offense, darling. Like, she's not doing that. Everybody else assumes a lot about her.
I'm going to give a little credit to our friend Steve Wagner right now, who literally wrote the book on the Beatles archetype and the rock and roll archetype and what, and how all that applies to popular music. And I was talking to him the other day about this, and he said Taylor Swift is creating a brand new archetype. Like this brand new, it's not just the goddess archetype or the, self-destructive archetype. It's like, it's the storyteller media savvy. It's like these three things glommed onto one.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this hybrid archetype, which is why people who don't like her don't really know how to attack her.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who love her can't really put it into words because it's not quite anything it's a brand new thing for the 21st century, you know?
I think going back to the Stevie thing, I think she is the now version of that because Stevie was very mystical and no one really understood if she was even human and that was her intent, right? To be very ethereal. But Taylor, like, she'll do all that and then like wink at the camera. Like she's in on what she's doing. There's a grand master plan.
It's funny you keep mentioning Stevie because we had her on our Flick Nation show when her documentary came out.
Okay.
And she said, and I'll never forget this, at the time I was just like, that's a weird thing to say, but I guess it totally makes sense. Not the reality TV guy. I hate all that shit. Yeah. But she said to any young person coming up in the industry, if you're in a band, there's no better thing to get attention for you than if you're involved with somebody in the band. If there's that story, that thing.
Nobody knows that better than Steve.
Yeah.
I mean, but
she invented it.
Exactly. You look at No Doubt, you know, you can't mention No Doubt without going, well, she was seeing him.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, it's a weird thing that's baked into our fabric. It's none of our friggin' business, but we do it anyway. But she says when that is stuck onto this creative thing, it's the extra juice. And she says it's magical if you don't have to make it up, but you might want to make it up. And I was just like, again, I thought at the time it was a weird thing to say, but in retrospect, I guess in the world we live in, it totally makes sense.
Yeah, but is that a matter of her saying, this is what worked for me, so if you can do it, make it work for you? Or
Pretty much.
As opposed to saying, well, I saw that this was kind of helping a little bit, so I kind of fed into it and made it.
She didn't go that far, but you never know.
Well, and keep in mind, Taylor has sacrificed every ex-boyfriend she's had to
at the altar.
right there.
It's true.
She has.
Yeah.
And I mean, and she's done it well. Nobody's done it as good as she has.
I love
know?
that meme that says, you know, like if Taylor Swift breaks up with you, she's going to write an angry song about you. But Stevie Nicks made Lindsey Buckingham stand next to her and sing that song about what an asshole he was.
Every night. You know, like,
Silver Springs, the performance on YouTube, look it up. She's like looking at him, like glaring.
Oh, I've seen that.
Oh
Yes,
my God.
yes.
I'll pull that up and I'll just
Yeah.
be like, yeah, I'll do a little dance in my room. It's freaking queen.
Nice.
Oh my God. All right.
Jay, I hope you're paying attention.
Oh, he is. Do you know how many times on a drunken night I've been like, watch this? Many.
Alrighty.
This is feeling a smidge like a podcast.
It is.
Should we keep going?
I think we should. So here's the deal. We're going to keep this conversation going, but what we're going to do right now is we're going to flash back just about 2 years ago. Diane Warren, it's Oscar time, and our pal Diane Warren is up for her 15th. Are you kidding me? 15th nomination. You have written songs for or with, definitely, I think, for most of my favorite artists. Aerosmith, Cheap Trick. I mean, I could list 1,000 artists, but what is the most typical process of how it comes together? Do they just like open up the Diane Warren playbook and go, I want that song? Or is it more of a collaborative type of thing with the artists when you get together with?
I write songs. I usually write them by myself, and I just figure out who I'm going to give the song to. Like in the case of Aerosmith, that was written for Armageddon.
Right.
And it kind of just so happened that Steven Tyler's daughter, Liv, was in the movie. And I never thought, Aerosmith would record a song I wrote.
You said you wrote a song today. Obviously, you've got award season. And, how far do you plan ahead? Do you just get up every day and just see where the pen takes you?
I go to work every day.
Beautiful.
I usually have something I'm working on, or I start something, or, So it's always working. And then now it's award season. That's a whole other job, isn't it? But I love it. It's like you said, it's like the Super Bowl.
So that was Diane Warren talking about songwriting, and it was great. And actually, we got a chance to hang out with her in person the following year when we went down there. I visited Steve, and she's like, "Come on by," and we got to see her building, her complex.
Complex is the word. Yeah.
No, it's just amazing. I mean, I recommend everybody get one because
we will one day.
Short list.
Yes, it is.
Exactly. But what you're listening to is the rest of our podcast, our TMI podcast. And so what's cool about this is we're just double dipping this week. We're just like doing two things at once.
This is working smarter, not harder.
Yes.
Paul Tonelli taught me all about that.
So back to Taylor Swift.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. I could go on and on about this topic.
Here's the thing. I don't understand it. I'm gonna, because it's a podcast and because I'm all fired up about this and because we don't have a Super Bowl to deal with anymore, I just kind of want to bring this up. As a guy, I want to bring this up. Here's what I don't understand. As a guy, and believe me, I am fully of the opinion that women should run the world at this point. We fucked it up for the last 250 years.
Give us a go.
Absolutely.
Yep,
Absolutely.
yep.
Give us a go. I mean, and I don't say that because my female boss is next to me, but
I didn't even think about that. I forget I'm your boss sometimes.
you're an awesome boss.
Thank you.
That's what I'm saying. That's
Thank
what
you.
I'm saying. And we just came off of that, but forget about my perspective. We just came off of the year of Barbie. We just came off the year of women empowerment. America Ferrera got nominated for that freaking monologue about how hard it is to be a woman. It's an incredible moment in pop culture when it comes to celebrating femininity. How then can you be a woman and shit all over Taylor Swift having a boyfriend or going to a football game? I'll just lob this out there. What do you guys think that is?
What do I think it is? I think it's. I'm going to say some controversial shit right now. Number one, I think it's a little bit of jealousy. I always think jealousy kind of is in the fold of a lot of things in life. That's just a personal opinion. But number two, I think it's some girls wanting to be the cool girl who kind of beats up on the other girl a little bit.
Sure.
Taylor has actually, as popular as she has always gotten slapped around a little bit for whatever reason. Kind of the Anne Hathaway effect. Like some people really love Anne Hathaway. A lot of people like to slap her around. I don't know what that is. I don't get it.
I like Anne Hathaway.
Jay loves Anne Hathaway.
Not for the reasons that you probably think, though. Jay and I probably should talk about this. Carry on. Continue.
Anywho, so the thing about Taylor that drives me crazy, and I've seen a lot of people say this on the internet, this is not my original thought, but when I saw it, I was like, hell yes, is that you have men berating Taylor for just being in the space. She's just there to support her boyfriend. And then you have their daughters sitting next to them, watching them be mad at a woman for taking up space. That fucking makes my blood boil.
Oh, yeah.
This girl is not doing anything. She's not jumping in front of the camera. She's not lifting her shirt and showing her boobies to get attention. She's not doing anything to be like, hey, look at me. She is Taylor. She's in a position where she's going to be looked at. She's a massive pop star who has massive success, and she sells out. She changes economies wherever she goes.
Yes, absolutely.
So the cameras go to her. Be mad at the media outlets. Be mad at the cameras if she annoys you so much. But I don't understand why you're so mad that she shows up to a football game to support a guy she's digging. Like, what's the big freaking deal?
Yeah, I mean, talk to the director that's shooting and
he's making the choice.
Get the shot.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And he's doing it because she's Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the only reason. And it's certainly not. It's not her there with a big sign saying, "Hey, it's me, Taylor." You know? No, she's just there like everybody else to watch the game.
Yeah.
It wasn't her decision.
They always pan to celebrities, by the way.
But here's the other thing I don't get, and just to shift it just a little bit, I don't understand how, and I'm not a prude. I am not a prude at all. I say push it and go for it.
We know, darling.
True.
I say go for it. That said, a lot of pop music in the last 10 years that has crossed over and has done very well has been very vulgar. Again, I have no problem with that. But culturally, how do we go, WAP is fine, but fuck Taylor Swift.
I get it.
How can
totally agree.
the clean girl, the good girl, the one who raises money and gives it to people and doesn't sing about nasty shit, how can a parent look down on that?
I
know
agree
what I mean?
because Cody, my son is 7, almost 8, and he's very into music, and he listens to a lot of what we listen to because naturally when you have kids and they're around, they do that. But he's starting to branch out, and his friends all love Taylor. So he came home one day and told me Taylor was his girlfriend, and I was like, obviously.
I get a song written.
I get it. I know. You better watch out. You better not screw over her because you. But he started asking about playing her songs. He would ask Alexa, play this, play that. And you know what was nice about that moment? Didn't have to think about it. Didn't have to worry about the lyrics.
Right.
Didn't have to think about what was going to happen. It was just like, yep, have fun, buddy. Explore.
Yeah.
There's something really beautiful about
Yeah.
that. It's like a safe space for him. As a parent, I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
and I guess the culture as far as what's acceptable on radio or what, not necessarily radio, but just in general, has widened out because during the 80s there was a whole lot of the parental warnings on labels.
Oh yeah, the advisories. Yeah.
And there was really this kind of like narrow casting of whether it was the hip hop or the rapper or something like that. That was where you could say that sort of stuff, and there was a lane for that. And now, it seems to have broadened out a little bit. And all it does is it continues to find ways to polarize people, because there was those people that didn't like that lane of music, and they would poo-poo it and everything. But now it's widened out, so there's even more stuff for people to be complaining about and being outraged at, and I'm outraged by outrage at this point.
I am so outraged by
totally,
outrage.
Totally.
I'm exhausted by it.
Yeah.
No, I don't understand it, because I came from a time where there was a certain amount of respect. There were rules, and I break rules.
Yeah.
I've been known to break a rule or two from time to time. But
We know, darling. We know.
But still, as far as culture, as far as manners, as far as how you treat women and how you respect people, so much of that has gone out the window in the past decade, let's say.
Sure.
And all we can do is hope that eventually the pendulum's going to swing back the other way.
Yeah.
But Taylor, she's unfortunately she's at that low point in the pendulum swing where she's got a bullseye on her from all these people, and there would have been a time where maybe that narrow passageway where a handful of people would have said no, or they'd be upset with her. Now all of a sudden that swath is a lot bigger than it would have been, because you get people from the 70s, the storytellers that we were talking about before. If somebody had a song you didn't care for or whatever, I don't like that artist. Okay, you don't like them.
Yeah.
And you move on.
Move on.
But man,
you don't listen to them.
But man, it's personal now.
It is personal. You know what you just pointed out that makes me laugh? Like, there are so many things to actually be outraged about in 2024. Like, real shit is happening in this world that is, I won't go into it. This isn't a time and space for it, but that is so outrageously horrific that we should all be up in arms. Revolutionary type shit should be happening right now. And we're not. We're worried about Taylor Swift showing up in our football. What? Like, that's so crazy to me. An average football game is 3 hours and 15 minutes. I know that because I schedule them on the bone. She shows up. They did the math. She shows up less than 60 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
The blips of her are 5 to 7 seconds at a time.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I just can't believe we're so outraged about it. But can I just point out something that I loved? I loved so much. And I thought of you. And I thought Steve would love this moment too. Please tell me you saw her chug the beer.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that she's not a national treasure after that, I don't understand. I'm sorry. She's done that before.
Chug the beer and slammed it down. I was like,
yeah.
Now, I will say that the glass was only half full.
Oh, of course he would point that out. But you know what? Give her credit.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
God bless you. God bless Taylor Swift. Making beer chugging, a thing again.
A thing again.
And you know what I said?
Make America drunk again.
I can get on board with that.
Cheers.
What I said on the radio is this: like, how can we be mad at the fact that little girls are watching football with their dads? It's like, not only should the dads be happy about this, football should be happy about this. You've got young fans coming in.
Oh, football's happy. They made $300 million extra dollars because of Taylor. Yeah, they're very happy.
Yeah.
And a little 8-year-old daughter grabs her dad's beer and puts it down.
All right, now,
just like Taylor.
That's next year's Budweiser commercial on.
Oh my God, I was not ready, but that was so good. That makes a great transition point. We did start out talking about lyrics, and we went off about Taylor Swift. Do we still want to talk about lyrics?
We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Okay,
Let's do it.
Because I prepared for lyrics.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do lyrics.
But I will say, like, making the bridge between Taylor, what is amazing is she looks at her entire album as a story, and I think that art is lost, because we've talked a few times about singles, like people just ripping out singles at a time. Nobody sits down to really consume an album in its entirety. It seems, I do too. I know us, of course we do.
Yeah.
But it seems except for Taylor. Like, she announced this new album coming out, and this podcast is gonna get me in trouble. This podcast is gonna get me in trouble. There are artists in the rock space that have been there for a long time, and when they put out new music, it's like a fart in the wind. Nobody notices or cares. But then Taylor puts it out, and people want to eat up an entire album. I'm super excited that people want that much new music. That's exciting, especially when you're hosting a show about new music.
All right.
No, totally.
You know?
Well, maybe that's her seeing as she's all powerful anyway. Maybe that's Taylor Swift righting the ship.
I hope.
And bringing us all back collectively to listening to an album.
Yeah.
Listening to, and setting the stage for other musicians to say, okay, well, that worked for her. Now I'm no Taylor Swift, but
you're right. You're absolutely right. And I hope that catches on. I really hope that other artists go, I can do that. But we deal with a lot of local artists.
Yeah.
And then somebody comes out and does something awesome and nobody follows it. And you're like, why aren't you doing that? you know, and I hope it empowers artists to do long form storytelling, to bring people into the full experience.
Well, one of our favorite people ever, part of the Soundwaves family, Sam Chase, did Dallas Pistol.
That's right.
The last rights of Dallas Pistol. And that album did not, well, unfortunately, it came out at a time that just kind of, you know, knocked it around a little bit. It didn't get quite the love that it should have. And you cannot talk about lyrics and songwriting without talking about Sam.
Yeah.
Right.
There's you said something earlier about like, or maybe you did, I don't remember. One of you said something about like 4 minutes ago, I didn't feel that way. How lyric writing and songs
that was me.
completely change
That's right.
the headspace that you're in.
Yeah.
Sam can do that to me in less than 20 seconds. And I timed it
agree.
today. I put on my favorite song by him, Strike a Chord. A favorite song. There's
Great song.
no way I can pick a favorite. But that's one of the songs that just goes, like hits me in the gut. And in 10 seconds, I'm like, what's life all about? You know what I mean? I mean, he is... And I'm not saying this because he's a friend of ours. Before I met him, I was like, nobody does lyrics and storytelling
That's right.
quite like him. I don't think he has any idea the gift that he has.
Yeah.
Like I know,
Yeah.
we know Sam. Sam knows he's good.
Yeah.
But I don't think Sam knows he's legitimately otherworldly. One of the greatest songwriters of all time.
And born at the wrong time. You know, let's face it, if Sam Chase was coming up when Jim Croce and Billy Joel were telling stories,
John
he'd be in
Prine.
that conversation.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It made me think. So I didn't know if you guys had lyrics that you were thinking of, but I wrote out some lyrics this morning and I was thinking about Sam because I always start with him. And he loves John Prine. And I love John Prine. We bonded over the day that John Prine died, which was during COVID. And that was the first day I lost my absolute shit. Like, that was what broke me. John Prine's death broke me in COVID. I was like, that's it. I'm out. I'm over it. I can't do it anymore. But John is such a songwriter and writes these really raw lyrics that get to the bottom of something. I'll point something out. There's a song called Angel from Montgomery, done by Bonnie Raitt, done by Dave Matthews, done by a lot of people, but it was written by John Prine. And this is a song that I always make Jay, especially if I've had a couple drinks. There's a theme here. I will make him listen to, this poor guy. And every time this lyric comes through, I'm like, oh, did you feel that? Like that's good. And it is, how the hell can a person go to work in the morning, come home in the evening, they've got nothing to say?
Oh, wow.
Like, if you're in a relationship and you go home and you grab your beer and you sit in front of the TV and you don't talk and you don't connect and you don't do the how's your day or the best parts and low parts, like what's going on? And that lyric to me just sums up a relationship altogether. Like, that is the essence of
right there.
Just right there. That one
Yeah.
sentence. It's like, oh, that gets me every
I
time.
don't have any specific lyrics, but you know I love...
I have enough for all three of us.
That's
if you
cool.
like.
You just made me think of it, and on the Billy Joel topic, too, about being older. Springsteen, you know, his last album, again, could have only been written by somebody who'd had loss, who'd experienced loss. The whole thing was a tribute to Clarence and the other guy in the band whose name I can't remember, but, you know, losing, you know, a blood brother and relationships and who I used to be. And his two albums, Western Stars and Letter to You, with Western Stars was more of a solo album. Those two albums together are pretty goddamn sad. And Western Stars doesn't get the credit because it does. It's very Glenn Campbell. It's very 70s and cowboy kind of thing. But if you listen to those lyrics, like there's one song that's just about him sitting at the bar because he was a stuntman in a movie and John Wayne shot him once. And his whole life is about people buying him drinks. I've told that story 1,000 times and traded it for drinks. And that's the whole summation of this dude's life.
Yeah.
That's the story he tells right there.
Yeah.
And you can't tell that story unless you've had life behind you.
Right.
You know,
Right.
like some 25-year-old kid ain't going to write that story. You know, but somebody with regret over life, regret over career, but fuck, I'm going to enjoy myself because this is all I got, so I'm going to revel in it. I'm going to tell that story for the 10,000th time. There's a poignancy, there's a sadness that only people like that can really capture, I think.
I think you have to really live to do that. And I think that going back to Sam, he really lives.
Yeah.
Like he drinks, he parties, he dances, he screams, he yells, he goes out into the woods and camps and plays his guitar. And like he does all the things. I remember I was talking to Charlie Starr of Blackberry Smoke, asking him about kind of that, do you have to live it to write it concept? and he considers himself like a journalist of what he lives and or what he sees.
I remember that. That's a great quote.
And I was like, God, that's so great. But like, it's a real art to see what happens in your life or your life, and then me take it and write about it, because I didn't live your life. You know what I mean? So that sounds easy. Like, oh, I'll just write what I saw. But you got to feel it to really write it well, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that when you listen to music, it's how it affects you. I mean, I can listen to a story that's written by somebody else, and I can see it through their eyes. Jim Croce was the guy, you know, when he would sing a song, you were there. You were sitting next to him in the 18-wheeler while he's driving down, and he's telling you the story. But that's his story, and you're listening to it, and you're there. That's great. But I can listen to other music, like "You Get What You Give" by New Radicals. That's like one of my top 5 songs.
Yeah.
And the song starts out where at age 14 they got you down on your knees, You're talking about being young.
Yeah.
I'm not young.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But when you get to the chorus, and it's all about you get what you give, don't give up. You've got the music in you.
Yeah.
I mean, you just
I can
think
see
about it
the
right now.
tears in your eyes.
Yeah.
Woof. That's
Yeah.
it. That's the essence. That's right.
And I've had friends who have who've been unwell, who've passed on, and I've shared that song with them. You know, don't give up. One more step. One more song. You know, and to be able to take music like that and make it your own, make it mean something to you. I mean, that's really something. And then going back to Electric Dreams, Together in Electric Dreams.
Yeah.
You know, I remember listening to that song when the movie first came out back in the 80s, but hearing it again when I was hanging out with Dennis, drinking beers, and it's all, you know, we'll be together forever in Electric Dreams. And now I think of us when I hear that.
Woof. Oh, man.
So that's taking somebody else's music and personalizing it and internalizing it and letting it affect you.
You know, it's funny. I say to Jay all the time, like, there are lyrics that I appreciate more than some people.
Wow.
Right? Because I carry those lyrics with me, because they do what they just did to you. Bring all of that emotion that quick to you. They do that to me. And there are lots of people out there in the world that don't do that to me, but lyrics will from time to time.
You know what? Last night he and I were sitting drinking whiskey until very late, later than we should have. And I got into a playlist that I'd made and I'd never shared with him before, but I called it I Am Soundwaves. And so it's all like stuff that we'd played on the show, but also famous that, you know, like just, you know, stuff that meant something to me, you know, variations on a theme, you know, some, you know, favorite songs, stuff we've cut montages to, you know, back in the day. But it kind of like, in going back into it, kind of fresh. I'll share it with you.
Yeah, I'd love that.
It's like really nostalgic. It's very sentimental. It puts you in a vibe. It puts you in a place. And there was like 10 minutes where he and I are just sitting there not talking to each other, listening to music. And I'm like,
awesome.
Well, that's the power of this thing right here. That's the power of music and lyrics and, you know, and the cinema thing, because you know, the movie that plays in your head when that's happening is only yours. You know, and it's kind of maddening as a storyteller to try to share that with people, but it's yours. It's personal. It's private. You know
and that's
what I
why
mean?
they say it's the soundtrack of your life.
That's
right.
That's right.
Because all of those songs and lyrics are connected to sometimes unfortunate people, unfortunate souls, or unfortunate moments, but they're still your unfortunate moments.
Yeah.
You know, and they make you who you are.
I mean, I've had times where I've been, you know, like seeing Paul McCartney, you know, and being in a stadium with 30,000 people and singing at the top of my lungs to this music that is so important to me.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, I used to, before I had to worry about anybody giving a shit whether I did or not, I used to sit in my room and I'd smoke cigars and I would listen to Jim Croce music, and it was just me and the music and a cigar, and just me. So it can either be just me or it can be me and everybody.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And that's one of the awesome things about music, is that it covers that whole gambit.
Yes.
You know, it's personal here, or you can share it with everybody.
I'll trade your cigar for wine. Back in the Napster days, right? I would always rip CDs, and I would make a CD for everything you could imagine, and I would label them Weird Wine Night number 1, Weird Wine Night number 2, and I found them not too long ago when I sold my Mustang and I had to transition all my huge CD books into the other car. I opened it up, it fell open, and it was like Weird Rock Wine Night, you know, 1, 2, 3, 17,000, and I was like, oh God! And I went down a memory lane. I plugged in my CD player in my guest room, and Jay and Cody were there, and Jay walked in, and I was a puddle of goo on the floor. I was literally on the floor bawling. He's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be fine." I was listening to Sister Hazel, Your Winter. I don't know if you've ever heard that song, but it's one of my favorites of all time. And he was like, he just curled up with me, and it like we didn't have to say anything, and he didn't need to know what that meant. He just was in that moment with me, and that to me is what it's all about.
Oh, that's awesome.
So good.
Soundwaves TMI, featuring Chasta, Dennis Willis, and yours truly, Steven Kirk. The part of the announcer was played by Kelly Ogden. So please like and subscribe to Soundwaves TMI wherever you are listening from. And please consider helping us continue our mission of lifting and supporting independent music and the Bay Area music scene by becoming a Soundwaves patron. In exchange, you'll be the first to see and hear weekly shows such as Soundwaves TV, Soundwaves FM, and the Soundwaves TMI podcast, as well as exclusive content. Just go to patreon.com/SoundwavesTV. And for all things Soundwaves, follow us on all the social medias at Soundwaves TV, or go to soundwavestv.com.